He was never named an All-Pro. He was never invited to the Pro Bowl. And needless to say, he's unlikely to ever be enshrined in the team's famed Ring of Honor. Yet Larry Cole should be considered one of the greatest draft picks in Dallas Cowboys history.
Larry was so underrated. I mean, he was a great defensive end as far as playing the run. Pretty good pass rusher.
Larry, I mean, every time you turn around, he was recovering a fumble.
Cole, he knocked two guys down. I'd come around and get the sack or get the pressure, and I was the hero. But Larry Cole did all the work, but he didn't want any credit for it. I always try, even like now, I try to, say what a great player Larry was.
Taken in the 16th round of the 1968 draft, 428th overall, Larry overcame long odds just to make the Cowboys roster.
When I first, came to training camp, I saw the team, and the guy in front of me, he was 9 years older, and we had to run the Landry Mile. You had to run, 6 laps in 12 minutes, and he fell out after about the fifth lap, and I said, damn, I may have a chance of making this team.
Which turned out to be quite the understatement. In fact, Larry would eventually go on to play in 176 career regular season games, the most in NFL history for anyone drafted in the 16th round or later.
It couldn't have been more fortunate for me to, go to that team.
His road to the Cowboys, though, wasn't a conventional one. It began on a farm near Granite Falls, a town of less than 3,000 in southwestern Minnesota.
I don't know if he grew up in the country. I think he must have, because he hauled hay like I did a lot.
I was brought up to, get an education. My mother, I grew up on a farm.
Throwing probably 50,000 hay bales up in the loft really gives you a lot of strength, and Larry did the same thing.
Cole was a man amongst boys on the high school football field, but because he played for tiny Granite Falls High School, only one college came calling.
School that really recruited me was the Air Force Academy. I started my sophomore and junior years, and then in the off season there was a cheating ring and got caught with tolerating it, and then eventually got sucked into it, and so I just ended up resigning and going into the reserves, and got my honorable discharge.
Not ready to give up football, Cole moved to the University of Houston, but never found a connection with the school, so moved again prior to his senior season.
Hawaii, they gave him a special dispensation that you could play transfers right away, and they were trying to help Hawaii build a program.
Enjoying life in paradise, Larry shined for the Rainbow Warriors.
At Air Force, we played Nebraska and UCLA and Stanford and Cal, all those bigger teams, and Hawaii. Then he went to Hawaii, and it's like they played all these little small colleges and stuff.
Still, when his time on campus came to an end, Cole thought his days on the gridiron would be over as well.
And so after that, it's like, okay, I'm done with football. And, rather doubt anybody's, I'd heard from, a couple of, teams that, supposedly had scouts, but I didn't really hear from anybody, during the season.
Little did he know that one team would indeed come calling.
The Dallas Cowboys Legends Show is presented by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.
But I was a Packer fan, and we watched the game, and, it was 100 degrees warmer. I jumped up in the air, celebrating. A month later, I got drafted by Dallas, and it's like, oh. They sent me this brochure and said, if you got the desire, we'll find a spot for you. And damn if that wasn't true.
Being the first player ever drafted out of the University of Hawaii, earning a spot on the team wouldn't come easy for Cole, especially on a defense that featured so many star players, including future Hall of Fame linebacker Chuck Howley.
It started on a sour note. Training camp, I'm left in, and he playing next to me, and I was there, and I was a little confused, and I said, do I go in on this without? And he says, I don't care what you do, just stay out of my way. It's like, welcome to the NFL. And then later on, I stepped on his foot and got chewed out.
But Cole would find a place on the Cowboys roster and go on to appear in 14 games during his rookie season, which included 10 starts. Like any young player, he struggled to learn head coach Tom Landry's intricate flex defense.
The flex defense was pretty complicated, especially for a young, rookie and second-year man.
Learning the flex defense, you just don't step in and pick that up just right off the bat. It takes a little time to learn that defense and play in it, to understand, the philosophy behind it and all that's involved.
If you look at how many rookies Tom Landry ever let see the field, I think Cole started 12 games his rookie year. Unheard of for Tom Landry. Unheard of. Smart, savvy, strong, so smart, so instinctive, and supported that with an incredible work rate. Yeah, absolutely. Larry Cole's one of the most underappreciated, really good players this team's ever had.
The flex defense is a very disciplined defense. I mean, they coached our steps of take for here to there. And Leroy would, it's more like basketball picks. We would go here and take that block there and go here. And so, we all had to be in our spots before we could react to the play.
Explaining Landry's flex defense would take a master class in football strategy. The design required players to take specific steps based on initial reads and then react accordingly to the play.
The flex is really a way to free up the linebacker. The whole premise of the flex is to keep the offensive lineman off of the middle linebacker so that they can make plays.
I mean, we had one set where, in my side, I played left end. Jethro was up on the ball, and then I was 2 feet up in back of the ball. And my job is to look at the guard to see if he's pulling. And so my first step was to take this step, and if it's a straight ahead play, the tackle's coming at me.
Flex defense was a gap control defense where you had 3 men at the point of attack at all times. You always had a contained guy and you always had a cutback guy. And if everybody played their position right, we could stop guys like Walter Payton. We could stop guys like Earl Campbell. Eric Dickerson. We could stop them.
And of course, when I first saw this, it's like, so he's going to get a 2.5, 3 yard start on beating the crap out of me. Well, I found out when you start learning to play it, it's like, that's kind of awkward for him too. And if you do it right, you can make him think you're there and then slip inside of him and make the play.
Cole became one of the best cogs within Landry's defensive machine, which required defensive linemen to know their roles and, more importantly, play their design roles. By the 1970 season, the first generation of the Dallas Cowboys' Doomsday defense was finally coming together.
Our offense was good, but our defense was really good too. We were always in the top 5 in offense and defense, and we support each other.
Led by the likes of Bob Lilly, Mel Renfro, and Cliff Harris, strengthened with key role players such as Jethro Pugh, Dave Edwards, and of course, Larry Cole, the defense carried the Cowboys into Super Bowl V and a showdown with the Baltimore Colts.
We were all seasoned by then. All of us had played the flex defense for several years by then.
We were really dominating their line.
Unfortunately, in a game that saw 11 turnovers,
Wayne Thomas fumbled that football and the Baltimore Colts recovered.
the Cowboys fell to the Colts, losing 16-13.
It's very disappointing to go that far and lose on a last-second field goal.
You have the lead the whole game against Baltimore, and then you end up losing in the last second. Those are the hardest games, to accept.
Bob Lilly so frustrating for him. He put his whole life in this game and #1 draft pick and all that, and then we just couldn't win at the very end, and it was a close game.
It's like, man, that hurts. But in life, those are the things that motivate you to go back.
With renewed determination, the Cowboys would finish the 1971 regular season with an 11-3 record before steamrolling their way through the playoffs to face Miami in Super Bowl VI.
If we can get 3 points, we can win. And we had that mentality is that we're going to keep them out of the zone and not them score hardly any points.
Miami had, I don't know, I think they had 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on that team, and they scored 3 points against us.
They were not a very good team throwing the ball, and so you could concentrate on Sanka. And of course, Sanka never fumbled, but after 2 series, I think what happened in the first series, they made 2 first downs, and then Sanka fumbled, and that was the end of the game. I mean, it was 24-3, but it didn't seem like it was 24-3 because we dominated them completely.
At the 3, pitch out to Thomas. Dwayne cuts inside the 5 with a screw and a touchdown for Dwayne.
Zonka, actually, it was the handoff. He fumbled, and I recovered that fumble. But just before that, Chuck Hawley had recovered a fumble.
And the signature play of the Cowboys' victory over the Dolphins was perhaps the takedown of Bob Greasy, when Lilly and Cole worked together to sack the Dolphins quarterback for a 29-yard loss.
So Larry got through, and he was over here, and I was chasing Greasy, but Greasy could never come back this way because of Larry. We were both faster than Greasy was, I think. Bob used to ask me, "How did you catch me?" And I said, "Because I'm faster than you are."
Lombardi Trophy in hand, over the next 3 seasons, the Doomsday defense would see a transformation take place. Players like Chuck Howley and Bob Lilly retired, while newcomers such as Harvey Martin and Ed Too Tall Jones came on board.
When Lilly retired, I played, right tackle, and then when Jethro was, on his way out or almost done, then I played, left tackle. So I played 3 positions.
However, a true changing of the guard came with the 1975 draft. In particular, the rookie class known as the Dirty Dozen saw Randy White, Bob Brunick, and Thomas Henderson join the defense.
Well, I think that we had 12 rookies make our team that year, and we came off of a season that we didn't go to the playoffs, and so I think there's a lot of people saying, the Cowboy dynasty is gone.
We kind of switched over to a whole new football team and after 75, and fortunately we still had a great coach, and defense was a big part of it.
We had so many, great players, core players on that, and I think the young guys that came in, we rejuvenated that group.
We're younger guys. Those guys are 6 or 7 years older than we are, so they're kind of in the middle, not ready to retire. They got 5 or 6 years left in them, and some great years.
So good was the mix of veterans and young players now that the Cowboys shocked one and all by reaching Super Bowl X, where they would fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers 21-17.
That was one of those years where nobody expected us to be there, but it's one of those things you prove. It's like, you had every right to be there, and you damn near beat them.
I don't think we really understood the impact of the Super Bowl as rookies, what it really meant and what type of an opportunity that was, even to have a chance to play in that game, to get there.
Despite the loss, that 1975 season marked the beginning of Doomsday II, the second generation of the Cowboys' famed defense.
I tell you, nobody felt more privileged than I did standing with those guys and them being in front of me and playing because they could get it done.
So going to the Super Bowl that year in '75 meant the world to me. That let me know then that coaching staff, Coach Landry and his coaching staff knew what they were doing. The players that they kept were quality championship type players that adapted to a system very fast, and that we were on our way to a very bright future here in Dallas.
Your goal was to get to the Super Bowl. And Coach Landry changed that goal. He says, our goal is to get to the Super Bowl and win.
Butch Johnson caught, Touchdown!
The pinnacle for the second generation of the Doomsday defense would come during the 1977 season, a year in which the Cowboys manhandled the opposition on their way to a heavyweight matchup with the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl XII.
We just really had a lot of talent on that team, and it was coming together right at that moment and right through that season.
You know, the 72 Super Bowl against Miami, that was the best team I played on. But the 77 Cowboys with, you know, Randy and, you know, Harvey and Tutal, I mean, that was the most talented team I played on. Not only we had talent, we had depth, and we had Tony Dorsett.
So we had a lot of younger, under 25, so to speak, guys that really came into their own that year.
Facing former teammate Craig Morton, Dallas simply dominated the Broncos quarterback, the Cowboys pass rush recording 4 sacks while also forcing 4 interceptions.
You know, I felt sorry for Craig because, you know, it's matchups playing teams. They had a lousy offensive line. I hate to say it, but yeah, they did.
Morton will throw it up, hit as he lets it go. It's intercepted again. Picked off by Aaron Kyle. The Cowboys have their second interception of the first quarter.
Craig had no chance. There was no way he was going to salvage anything.
Along with Roger Staubach, Fitz snaps it back. A 3-man rush again. Roger goes deep across the middle, way downfield, and Butch Johnson caught. Touchdown!
The Cowboys would roll to a 27-10 victory with Randy White and Harvey Martin winning co-MVP honors for the game.
I think that Doomsday 2 sort of took on its new personality in about that time because, hey, Randy White and Harvey Martin were the MVPs in the Super Bowl, and they were 2 of the defensive linemen, and there was Ed Jones and John Dutton and some Larry Cole. Larry probably should be in that picture too of the new Doomsday, but Larry had been part of the old Doomsday as well.
I'm so proud of that defense. I'm proud of the approach to every game. I'm proud of how hard guys worked. Because we had some very talented players at pretty much every position on that team. But talent alone don't win ball games. Their work ethic, the way they took film home and studied in practice, how intense our practice was. There's a price you have to pay for greatness, and those guys did.
But everybody says, hey, 75 started it, and 77 was finished business.
With a defense that was still at its peak, the Cowboys would make a return trip to the Super Bowl the following season, only again to lose to the Steelers.
Unfortunately for us, you know, we really thought we could have beat Pittsburgh, you know, in 78 and, you know, atone for the 75 loss, and, you know, this game just got away from us.
In 75, when we played the Steelers, when you think about it, they had all the experience on us. Even though we still made it a game, good game. But in 78, both teams were in their prime. They were at the top of their prime.
Yeah, that one will haunt me forever.
But after all those years of largely being under the radar, Larry Cole would get his true moment in the spotlight during the 1979 regular season finale. With Washington ahead 34-28 with just over 2 minutes remaining, the visitors lined up for a 3rd and 2 at their own 33-yard line. With a first down, a win would be secured.
I mean, I'd learned a whole lot from Bob Lilly. And when I caught Riggins, you know, in 79, they ran the play earlier, and they lined up to like it again.
Thanks to Cole's game-saving play, Roger Staubach would lead the offense on one final drive, completing a touchdown pass to Tony Hill with only seconds left on the clock for an unlikely come-from-behind victory.
Time. Staubach throwing in the end zone. Tony Hill! Touchdown! Tony Hill!
I remember this was Staubach's last year, and it set up his last come-from-behind win. The pride I felt of, how the Cowboys play these games, and looked at Tom Landry, and it's like, yeah.
Larry would go on to play one more year with the Cowboys, appearing in every game during the 1980 season.
The ball is intercepted by Larry Cole. Here's the Cowboys defensive tackle with a touchdown. Larry Cole has done it again. 44 yards for the guy who has made a specialty of scoring against Washington.
First time that I ever went to Tom Landry's office was the day I retired. I said, well, I'm going to retire. And that's when he said, well, I know you've thought it through. I respect your decision, and you want a press conference. And it's like, damn, yeah.
With a degree in civil engineering and having already started a successful career in real estate development, Cole's transition into life after football was an easy one.
I was able to get a bigger development. I'd done some smaller things in Colleyville and, buy the land right. And when I retired, I had plenty of cushion, to just step seamlessly from one to another.
While sacks did not become an official statistic until 1982, Cole has been credited with 60 sacks overall during his career, which still ranks 10th in Cowboys history.
Larry would go in on them passing downs and, he slow but strong, never lifted weights, but he could grab you and twist you like a pretzel.
Perhaps even more impressive, though, is that during his 13-year career in Dallas, Larry never played on a losing Cowboys team, reaching the postseason 12 times while appearing in 8 NFC Championship games and 5 Super Bowls, winning 2. He still ranks second in the team's history with 26 career playoff games.
I've had a good life, good family life, been married 53 years, and yeah, you look back and I just marvel at all the things that I did and happy to have done them. And both my parents and Linda's parents, they lived long lives and lived it to the last day of their life. And, I hope to be able to do so with most of my scruples intact.
Not too bad for the 428th player picked.
The Dallas Cowboys Legends Show was presented by AT&T, an official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys, and by the Texas Lottery. Dallas Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today.